Rena shifted the heavy quartz slab under her gloved hands, a hairline fracture quivering along its surface. The day's heat was stifling, and little beads of sweat clung to her brow. She paused, glancing around the depth of the dig site. A crater nestled within the ghostly remnants of what had once been a bustling hydroponics station. Now, only rusted machinery and overgrown flora surrounded them, the air perfumed with the metallic tang of rust and decay. Careful with that, Rena. You want the grand reveal to be spectacular, not just another piece of salvage, piped up Leo, her partner, who stood nearby with his arms crossed. His sun-bleached hair tickled the nape of his neck, and although he was trying to sound serious, the playful gleam in his eyes betrayed him. She shot him a glare, her cheeks dimpling. "You're hilarious, Leo. Next time, why don't you try digging instead of cracking jokes? Excuse me, but that joke was a pro-level performance," he replied, feigning offense, but the buoyancy in his voice only made her more determined. With one final push, she wrestled the slab free and let it drop to the side with a thud. Dust billowed up, enveloping them momentarily in a ghostly cloud before settling. As her eyes adjusted, she leaned closer to the dark cavity beneath. "We're not just salvaging, we're unearthing history. Besides, I'm not just doing this for another notch on my R. Some," she murmured, her breath catching in excitement. "What's got you all worked up?" Leo inquired, lowering himself to peer into the void. "Is it just rusty hoppers and scraps of old Bayaware? No." Rena's breath hitched as her fingers brushed against an intricate design etched into the slab's surface, cogwheels intertwining with vines, symbols that felt almost alive. "This is more than that. This looks deliberate. Deliberate." He scrunched his brow, skepticism hewn into his features. "Looks like another failed project to me. Failed or not, someone intended this to be hidden," Rena pressed. There was a tension in her voice, a fervor that pulled at the edges of her nerves. Leo shrugged, but she could see the tangible curiosity flicker to life behind his eyes. They had been digging for weeks through the underbelly of Zay to 21's ruins, and until now all they had found were the echoes of inventions past, the discarded remnants of a civilization that had thrived and then, inexplicably, fallen. "We're destined for the annals of obscure history here, Rena. Look around." Leo waved his arm dismissively toward the remnants of technology and the skeletal structures of ancient greenhouses, their curved arches sagging under the weight of time and foliage. "It's all trash." "Garbage maybe," Rena acknowledged, "but what's that saying? One man's trash is another man's trash, likely." Knowing this planet, he interrupted. "Look, I love your optimism, but I'm running out of reasons to keep digging. The previous teams left years ago. We're not going to find the next lost city of Atlantis down here." Rena's gaze hardened as she stared into the dark crevice again. "Or maybe we are." Suddenly, a flicker of color caught her eye amongst the shadows. "Wait, Leo, look at this." Her heart raced, and she leaned deeper, careful not to lose her balance as she grasped a peculiar object. It pulsed faintly, emitting a soft glow. It was strange, too symmetrical, too unblemished by age. A simple, bulbous form, adorned with spiraling ridges that spiraled like the galaxies in hollow casts. She turned it over in her hands, and for a heartbeat, the ambient noise of the ruins faded, replaced by a visceral hum that resonated through her very core. "What the hell is that? Not sure." He inched closer, the light capturing an array of colors in his dark eyes. "Looks like it shouldn't even exist." Rena could feel a swell of anxiety mingling with curiosity as she inspected the object. "Whatever it is, it doesn't belong here." "The real question is, what do we do with it?" Leo asked, a tinge of excitement breaking through his earlier reticence. "If we take it back, it might change everything for us. Imagine the notoriety, the research grants, but is it safe?" Her voice trembled, caught between concern and thrill. A sound echoed a hollow thump from deeper within the hollowed-out remains. "Probably not," Leo mumbled, glancing around as if expecting something to leap from the shadows. The air stirred, sending a chill down Rena's spine. Something was wrong. She could feel it in her bones, the remnants of instinct telling her they had disturbed something that should never have seen the light of day. "What if it wakes up? Wakes up? Rena, you're scaring me." He stepped back, half joking, half serious. "I'm serious," she shot back, pulse quickening. "We need to go." "Now, all right, let's just another sound." This one was louder, more corporeal. The ground beneath their feet trembled, causing Rena to lose her footing, scrambling as dirt cascaded around them. The earth groaned, vibrating with an energy that felt alive. This was not just an ordinary dig site. Something was stirring in the depths, something that stayed buried for a reason. Leo grabbed her arm, pulling her back as a crack split the ground between them. What was that? As they exchanged glances of panic, Rena's heart hammered in her chest. "I don't know, but we need to get out before she could finish," a rumble echoed, louder this time. The shadows twisted as the ground erupted around them, throwing debris, bits of ancient metal, and a blinding light that rushed out as if freed from long imprisonment. Rena's instincts kicked in. "Run!" The two of them bolted, abandoning the object still pulsing weakly in the chaos. Heart pounding, Rena half turned to see what they were escaping, but the ground crashed in behind them, a thunderous roar swallowing any chance to look back. She could only think of the object, of its glow, the knowledge they had unearthed a wrong that had been forgotten. "Do you think it?" Leo's voice was barely audible, drowned in the cacophony of a crumbling world as they stumbled toward their rover, shadows trailing in their wake. "I think we need to get off this rock," Rena replied, eyes wide as they made their way into the clearing, a torrent of dust swirling back to cover what they had unleashed. As they rushed toward safety, an unsettling thought lodged in Rena's mind. They had only unearthed the beginning of something far more complex, something that wasn't merely a story of the past, it was a lesson from the lost, buried beneath the ruins of ambition and failure. They had awoken something, and its implications stretched beyond mere survival, reaching toward choices they would soon realize were never truly their own. They dove into the dugout rover, panting from exertion and the jarring tension that seemed to stitch the air in tight webs of uncertainty. Rena slammed the hatch shut, her hands shaking as she fumbled with the controls. Leo's eyes were sharp, alert, scanning the horizon for any sign of what they had uncovered, but every breath he took reeked of the chaos still swirling behind them. "Start the engine," Leo urged, his voice barely containing the gravity of the situation as he glanced back at the crumbling entrance. "It's booting. Give me a second," Rena retorted. The rover sprang to life, a low hum pulsing through the vehicle, vibrating in harmony with her racing heart. Several beeps confirmed readiness while she flicked switches, her practiced movements betraying a brewing storm of panic. "Just drive, don't look back. We need to get to higher ground," Leo insisted, his intensity settling in the taut lines of his jaw. With a final gasp of determination, she pressed the acceleration lever down, and they lurched forward, rocks and dust cascading in their wake. The rover picked up speed, tearing past the relentless ruins, a blur of abandoned artifacts and overgrown remnants that haunted their past like specters. Rena's mind churned, a maelstrom of thoughts. They had discovered something profound, something that had startled the very earth into revealing itself. But what exactly had they awakened? "Did you see that light?" Leo asked breathlessly, leaning against the console, his forehead beading with sweat. "What do you think it was?" "I've seen ancient tech before, but that felt alive," Rena whispered. "It felt like it was calling to me." "Calling," Leo echoed, incredulity slicing through his overwhelm. "That's not ominous at all." Rena shot him a look, trying to forge a crack in their mounting anxiety, but the humor slid away like oil over water. She tightened her grip on the wheel, eyes darting toward the horizon where jagged peaks climbed like the ribs of a long-dead leviathan. "Whatever it was, we need to tell the others to stay away from the dig site," she finally said, frustration and fear weaving through her words. "If it was that powerful, who knows what else it can do? I don't know what we saw back there, but I believe it was more than just tech," Leo murmured, his voice edged with uncertainty. And for the first time in weeks, unease crept beneath Rena's skin. She could sense that their discovery would alter not just the whispers of history, but the very fabric of their existence on A21. Buried somewhere within that mythical object lay the culmination of ambition and hubris, dreams that had danced tantalizingly close to reality but had ultimately ended in demise. Do you think Wilson will believe us? Leo suddenly broke the silence. Rena scoffed lightly. Wilson believes nothing unless it has a certification and triple-checked data. But we don't need his stamp of approval. We need to get to the others. They deserve to know what we've encountered. Ahead, the rocky terrain dropped into a distant valley, swathed in silver-blue foliage that glimmered under the alien sun, making their surroundings eerily beautiful. As they approached the outskirts of Crest Base, the humming grew more pronounced, vibrating through them, a thread that pulled them forward, urging them on. Suddenly, Leo's gaze shifted, and his excitement made way for dread. Rena, stop! Alarm shot through her, and she slammed the brakes. The rover shuddered to a halt, cobbled stones scraping beneath its weight. What's happening? Ahead, a shimmering field of electromagnetic static flickered, curling like smoke, distorting the outlines of Crest Base. There was something far too organic about it, a tangible thread of energy that seemed to pulse with a heartbeat. Power surged through the air, crackling against their skin. Did you see that? Leo gaped, his eyes widening. This wasn't here before. Rena's eyes narrowed. It's just interference from whatever energy field we unwittingly triggered. Or it's a defense mechanism. Rena couldn't shake the feeling that they were being drawn closer, as if some irresistible force had latched onto the object they'd unearthed. A silence draped over them like a shroud, heavy with the weight of unspoken fears. Tension flared in her chest. Leo's hands thrummed restlessly against his thigh. They had to take control of the situation. They couldn't just run or hide. The consequences of their discovery loomed larger than personal safety answers were necessary, now more than ever. Earth to Rena, Leo snapped lightly, his attempt at lightening the mood fraying. You've gone quiet on me, right? Let's assess the situation calmly, Rena reprimanded herself. I'll scout out the terrain first. We can't just charge through here. We're not exactly equipped for stealth, Leo reminded. I don't trust the static field, and I definitely don't want to get zapped. We should wait for backup. Backup might take too long, she argued, hand fiddling with the rover's drive controls. If this thing expands or morphs, who knows what else it could trigger. Okay, he relented, wariness covering his features, but if things go south, we get the hell out of here. Rena nodded, steel creeping into her resolve. Let's move. They exited the rover, tension thick in the air as they moved forward, eager but apprehensive. Each footstep drew them deeper into the unknown. Rena felt the static buzz beneath her skin, and it made her acutely aware of the pulse in the zone ahead that seemed to beckon them. How about we make a plan? Leo whispered, his eyes darting as shadows flickered around them. We can't let Wilson or stop, Rena cut in, eyes narrowing. Do you hear that? The static had morphed into a kind of resonance, a low thrumming that drowned Leo's suggestion in its rhythmic cadence. They stood frozen, and in that stillness, Rena could feel the surge of energy forming shapes at the fringes of their vision. Tendrils of light flickered like ethereal serpents, twisting around each other as if whispering secrets. What the hell is that? Leo breathed, his voice sounding distant, apprehensive even in proximity. Rena squinted, heart hammering as the glow intensified, revealing a pulsing silhouette coming forth. Stay behind me, she urged, instinct overtaking rational thought. The brilliant radiance morphed into a more defined shape. Humanoid but fluid, it shimmered like quicksilver caught in the air. As they stared, the entity began to form features of face, a body, eyes deep and dark like voids filled with infinite stars. Greetings. The voice quivered in the air, almost a song laced with echoes of forgotten memories. Who are you? Leo stuttered, his eyes wide as the being took another step forward, the static intensifying around them. What did you awaken? The entity pressed, its voice intertwining with the ongoing hum of energy. Rena felt a chill run along her spine. We didn't mean to enough of this, Leo interjected, stepping forward once more, defiance resonating through him. We came here with a mission. An unrecognizable chill crowned the air, cutting Leo's words short as the figure began to swirl in response. You were drawn here, each action has consequence. Your presence disrupts the balance. Rena could sense the urgency of their situation spiraling out of control. We can help, Just tell us what you want." The being paused, its gaze piercing through Rena, and she felt the weight of centuries rest upon her shoulders. "You seek knowledge. The truth is buried deep. Those who unearthed the shards of creating and destruction wished to forget. You must choose carefully where you tread." Leo's shoulder brushed against hers as he made an attempt to regain composure. "We're explorers. We believe in understanding the past. Just help us get our people safely back." The entity sparkled, expanding as though contemplating their words. "The choice you make today may not just alter the course of your destiny, but that of your entirety. Those you hold dear are in jeopardy." Rena's heart raced at the mention of the others, the team, friends, and the weight of responsibility congealed in her chest. The implications ripped through her thoughts. Suddenly, the consequences amplified in magnitude, far beyond personal ambition. What if they had not just disturbed a relic but a warning, a prelude to a potential catastrophe? "Please," she exclaimed, "we don't want harm to come to anyone." Again, "How do we help?" The being's visage softened. "Seek understanding, evade transgression. But no choices made in haste can condemn many." With each intonation, the glow pulsated, and Rena strangely felt warmth wrap around her, filling an emptiness she hadn't known existed. But another clarity shot through her, and unease settled in her gut, warning her this conversation teetered toward a precipice. Instinctively, Leo grabbed her arm. "We need to make a choice, and fast. Return to your friends," the entity urged, its form starting to flicker between dimensions as the static suddenly drew taut. "The awakening has begun, and chaos is imminent. You contain a piece of it." Leo's eyes darted to Rena, questioning. "We can't let this happen. We need to warn them. Gather your team and leave now." The entity surged and shimmered. "Or yes," Rena gasped, taken back by the unpredictable power rushing around them. "Or face the consequences of your neglect." Before they could utter another word, the being imploded energy exploded outward, reverberating with a deafening roar that sent shockwaves through the ground. Rena quickly grabbed Leo, pushing him back as the environment spiraled around them, forming jagged edges of light and fragmentation like shards being scattered. "Run," she shouted, adrenaline propelling her forward. They sprinted, adrenaline thrumming in their veins, clawing at the fragmented light, tangling with night. Trees bent grotesquely, vaporizing beneath the vibrant chaos spilling into the world. With the facility in sight, fears pressed heavily as they made their way back to Crest Base. Desperation a guiding force against the unknown. Is that what the digging has unleashed? Leo gasped, their legs barely holding the pace. "Worse," Rena panted, eyes darting toward Crest Base, where flickers of alarm blared and silhouettes rushed forth, chaotic against the backdrop of the illumination they had unwittingly disturbed. "We need to warn the others." Together they stumbled into the safety of Crest Base. Alarms rang overhead. It was full-blown chaos, but Rena noticed Wilson directing the other crew members, a stoic presence amidst the tumult. "Wilson," Rena cried, voice breaking through the noise as they approached. "We need to talk." He turned, surprise flickering across his expression. "What did you find?" "Something we shouldn't have unearthed," Leo interjected. "An entity we awakened. It warned an entity." Wilson's eyes narrowed, skepticism clear. "Focus. There's much turmoil. We don't have time for childish stories." With instinctive solidarity, Rena jumped in. "No, Wilson, we saw it, a being connected to whatever was beneath that site. We're in danger." So many just then the base trembled, a palpable shift coursing through the ground as vibrations pulsed beneath them like a storm approaching. Objects rattled on shelves, alarms intensified, and shadows flickered ominously within the establishment. The bright exterior they had just fled now crackled with a ferocity unimaginable. "Prepare for impact," shouted a crew member, darting for a console. "This is not just about us anymore," Leo shouted over the din. "We uprooted something unfathomable back there. It spoke of consequences. Consequences." Wilson frowned, glancing toward the door while shouts reverberated around them. "You think this is some ancient lore? This is a dig site, not a mythical wonderland." Rena could feel anger boiling, but it was mixed with desperation. "You have to listen. This is bigger than all of us." A wave of searing energy shot forth from the static field outside, flooding through the base and exploding the nearest panels. Sparks erupted, filling the space with acrid smoke, and a sound like thunder rumbled from beyond, stunning everyone into terrified stillness. "Get it under control," Wilson commanded, but his voice trembled, radiating a fear that began to infect the crew. "Sensors aren't strong enough," another technician shouted. More alarms blared, heightened by the emerging chaos. Shadows flickered around them. And then, without warning, they felt the ground quake again, a tremor spiraling from the surface they had disturbed. There was no escaping it. The threads they had tugged on were unraveling, and the stakes had risen beyond their understanding. "We don't know what it may unleash," Leo yelled with urgency, turning toward Rena. "What do we do?" Rena paused, heart racing. "We need to contain the energy, prevent the entity from expanding its realm. We have to regroup. Come on, let's make a plan," Wilson barked. Everyone, focus. As the urgency conveyed through the chaos, Rena felt the surrounding warmth of presence, awareness, and concern draping over them like a net. This would not only be a battle against external forces, but against their own potential for misguided hubris. They were faced with choices laden with weight, shaking the very foundation of what they believed they understood. The path ahead was a tangle of unknowns, but together they could minimize the tragedy unraveled before them. United, with tension vibrating in every pore, they'd need to wield their strengths against adversity, turning their fears into resolve and their doubt into action. The weight of each choice remained, deeply penetrating the tangled dynamics within their community, and as the air crackled around them, they had to trust in the connection they'd forged, unwilling to let the past become a fate they could not escape. The aftermath of their unearthing reverberated through Crest Base, a labyrinth of alarms tearing through the air, echoing against the panicked voices of the crew. Rena stood with Leo, Wilson, and the others amid the disarray, their shared resolve igniting a desperate energy that coiled tightly around them. "Everyone, we need to split into teams." Wilson's voice, though strained, carried authority. "Find the backup generators, reroute power, and prepare for emergencies. If this energy field is expanding, we need to contain it." Rena's heart pounded as she caught Leo's gaze. Panic flickered there, but she could also sense determination simmering just below the surface. She stepped closer. "Leo, listen. We have to find a way to communicate what we learned from the entity. Maybe it can help us communicate." The edge of disbelief colored his tone, but Rena could see his reluctance giving way to something stronger, an innate drive to understand the calamity they faced rather than merely act against it. "You really think there's a chance that whatever we awakened will help us?" It seemed pretty angry but also protective. "It told us we had nested alongside something greater. We can't ignore that. We need to tap into it," she replied fervently. A shape caught her eye. Anna, a biologist and their closest ally, moved towards them, urgency lining her features. "What's the plan? Is the entity helping us?" "We're hoping," Rena said quickly. "But we need to contain the energy first." "Where's the static field manifesting?" Anna motioned, and they hurried toward the communication hub, navigating through the disarray of equipment and scrambling crew members. Each step propelled them forward, a lure of purpose settling amidst the inevitable chaos. They arrived at the open door of the research station, where consoles blared incessantly, screens flashing red. Inside, technicians surrounded a large monitor, projecting a chaotic array of data. Lines of electromagnetic current flickered across the screen, spiraling like an intricate web trapped in a storm. "What's happening?" Rena demanded. "Power fluctuations," one technician shouted, typing furiously. "It's being siphoned directly from our core systems, causing energy bursts to ripple through the ground. Can we stop it?" Leo interjected. "No, at this rate, we may only cause more instability," another technician, Mira, said. "If the field continues to expand, everything will get caught in its wake before we can even assess the damage. The entity warned us, right?" Rena's eyes focused on the monitor. "It said to expect chaos unless we reach a balance. We need to work with it, not against it." "If we can contact it again and find out how to stabilize this, are you suggesting we invite it to intervene?" Leo raised an eyebrow. "Yes," Rena nodded. A spark flared between them. Think about it. We have that connection. If it spoke to us before, it might do it again. We can use the signal it left as a kind of anchor. If we create a feedback loop, we could amplify the call. Okay, I'm in, Leo replied, setting his jaw. Then what? Just hold up a sign and wait for it to appear. Not quite. Rena took a breath, excitement coursing through her veins. Well, rearrange our comm system to amplify frequencies while aligning with the static field. If we can create a channel, we may just provoke a response. Anna turned to them, admiration shining in her eyes. You're brilliant, but we need time to execute it. If we start talking to this entity in the middle of an expansion, we could agitate it more. Then we'll have to work fast, Rena replied, urgency making her blood sing. Wilson, we need your authority to mobilize everyone. We have to find a way to execute this quickly. Wilson coughed as darkness filled the doorway, hope warring against the tension etched in his brow. All right, let's execute it. Coordination is critical, everyone to their stations. Let's go. Rena grabbed Leo, moving between the bustling crew as they hurried away, adrenaline heightening their senses. She could not shake the feeling that doom tightened around them, but they were spinning threads of potential amidst an unrelenting storm. Over the next frantic hours, they gathered components, configuring the communication systems and priming them to resonate with the chaotic energy spiraling around Crest Base. They worked harmoniously, trading ideas and adjustments, each decision echoing the urgent rhythm of their pounding hearts. Signals nearly set, Leo called out as they wrapped the final wiring around the comm unit amidst the hum of machinery and frenzied calls from other techs. Rena turned towards him, a rush of relief flooding through her. Perfect. Just adjust the feedback loop parameters, aim for as many frequencies within the social network as we can. Their fingers flew over the dials, synchronizing thoughts, calibrating hope. The air felt electric. Are you ready? Rena asked, feeling the swell of anticipation rise within her hope bubbling against their fears. Ready as I'll ever be, Leo replied, turning back to the console. They powered it up, a flickering pulse emanating from their hastily constructed unit. The air seemed to crackle with energy, infusing the room with a sickly warmth as they sent their signal spiraling outward, merging with the chaotic currents that flowed just beyond. Now we wait, Rena said, her heart thudding heavily in her chest. Minutes stretched into agonizing eternity as they kept watch. Alarms continued to blare, warning them of instability. The world outside churned with the noise of an awakening force, energy flaring up like thunderclouds brewing. Yet they remained grounded in their purpose, waiting for that moment which would define their choices and possibly their survival. Then, all at once, the comms unit surged. Flickering lights blanketed the consoles, weaving their way into the chaos. It felt as if the room had been struck by a striking flash of light, illuminating hope amid the gathering darkness. Rena turned to Leo, eyes blazing. Is it working? I think so, Leo shouted, his gaze glued to the monitor as the streams of energy bent toward their unit in a spiral of light. It's responding. Just then, a low hum filled the air, resonating at a frequency so profound it settled deep within their bones. Rena gasped, recognition washing over her as the shimmering figure of the entity materialized before them, undulating, its aspects flickering like starlight. Your presence calls me, the entity spoke, voice reverberating through them, entwining with the very essence of the chaos that reigned almost like a soft song amidst darkness. Please, Rena urged, desperation surging. We need your guidance. The energy is destabilizing. How do we stabilize it? The entity shifted, drawing the threads of energy close as its visage remained fluid, reminiscent of waves caught in the depths of the ocean. You awaken my essence. Now, you must seek the balance hidden beneath. Control is an illusion. Only through understanding may peace return. Understanding, Leo echoed, each word blending with urgency. What do you mean? We can't just let chaos reign. You must guide it, channel it along the threads you desire. Each choice resonates with power. You alone hold the key to the balance. As the entity's words wrapped around them, Rena felt clarity emerge from her turmoil. She turned to her team, realization dawning. We have to link our intentions to the currents, the energy. I can feel it. It's a dance, a connection forged through understanding rather than force. Mira gasped. You mean we have to be a part of it? Yes. Rena spun towards the console, digging into the echoes of panic swirling in her mind. Everyone, focus. We need to tether our emotions, our intent to control the flow of energy. It responds to us. Come together. Their team exchanged glances, uncertainty mingling with newfound determination, before joining hands. Rena inhaled, grounding herself amidst the chaos, feeling the pulse of energy vibrating throughout them. Think of your connection, feel the energy, she urged. Remember the purpose, it's about balance. We have to resonate with it. Okay, Leo nodded, eyes piercing with clarity as the energy crackled around them. On 3, we pull together. 1, 2, 3. The air thickened with collective consciousness, as they shifted their focus, pooling their hopes and fears, troubles and kindness, intertwining every sentiment into an intentional, melodic resonance. The energy responded in kind, brightening until it shimmered like 1,000 stars igniting across a night sky. See it, feel it, Rena breathed, her heart pounding louder. Let it course through you, embrace it. With every pulse, the entity grew clearer, responding to their energy in ripples, emboldened by their unity. The clamor of alarms faded into a distant echo, merging with the hum of the cosmic energy converging. It felt alive, alive in a way that stretched beyond themselves. Colors spun out in spectral displays, and threads of light coursed through them, a testimony of generations yearning for purpose. Together, they chanted, voices uniting as they channeled the threads they felt from the entity. Safety, balance, understanding. They fused their intentions into a dance pulsing, rippling across the chasm between ruin and renewal, an invocation born from humility and courage. Then, with a deafening crescendo, the energy surged outward, rippling through the very fabric of their surroundings. Waves of energy arched above, arching through the plant life outside, igniting the dead systems around them, and unearthing the dormant wonder infused within nature. Hold on, Rena shouted as outside, chaotic storms converged with the field pulsating through the ground. The power bent toward resurgence and awakening. Keep channeling. It synced in harmony, an orchestra ignited, flooding through the air with colors that spilled across the barren landscape. Flora unfurled in luminescent blooms stretching skyward. Drawn into the convergence, a metamorphosis unfurling as the entity intertwined threads of light with the size of life emerging from long-buried roots. As balance reasserted, Rena felt the energy solidifying, all the while letting her heart guide the flow. Tendrils surged back, firm and secure, a breath of legacy flowing between species like an ancient promise. Light streamed, transcending the bounds of time and space, a testament to possibility where the ruins had once whispered of defeat. Look, Anna cried, pointing outside through the backdrop of ethereal colors. They turned to see the landscape, once stark and desolate, transforming into vibrant overgrowth, shimmering with life. Trees rustled, rich and green, their branches weaving together as if shaken from slumber, the earth responding, brimming with hope. Rena's gaze swept across the scene, breathing in the fragrance of metamorphosing vegetation, a heady concoction of earth and light. They had channeled their intentions, weaving through chaos and letting it flourish into purpose. The entity shimmered, watching them with a proud glimmer. You find balance, and in that, the promise of renewal unfolds. You have awakened what lies beneath. Within the chaos, there remains hope. As it finished, Rena felt warmth expand within her, a bond that shifted something deep in her chest. A reminder that conflict could transform into understanding through compassion and connection. The history of their homeworld still thrummed with possibility that silence connoted neither loss nor destruction but rebirth. Will it last? Leo breathed as color continued to cascade through the air like sacred liquid. Yes, Rena replied softly, believing without falter. If we keep our connection alive, well tend to it, as those before us might have, acknowledging its essence and presence like a partner in time. With renewed strength, Rena turned to the team still standing around the console, an unbreakable thread woven between them. "We've just rewritten our path together. We owe it to everyone to keep the balance." As echoes of their successes settled into the shadows, she felt the groundwork of understanding begin anew, a thread spanning futures, healing a world ravaged by its past. If we embrace the history, we refuse to repeat it. The group united, spirited by her declaration, every heartbeat reinforcing their collective intentions. Scenes of growth enveloped them, harnessed through inextricable bonds, futures blooming from newfound awareness. Together, from here on out, they would carry the legacy of understanding and connection forward, understanding that within chaos, they had unearthed the heartbeat of their world, and it was theirs to tend. They looked out to the horizon, the once desolate Ethra 7, transforming into a vibrant and living tapestry, unfolding beneath their feet. The warmth of the sun kissed their faces, hope blossoming past the ruins as their journey began anew, woven through whispers of the past and worlds yet to discover. And beneath the canopy of rekindled nature, they knew they would each embody change, forever intertwined, forever vigilant. Their realization rippled through every heart and every bond, promising the dawn of a harmonious future where history could thrive alongside the roots of their resolve, transforming each moment beneath the light of brave choices.